way back in the 1600s, in a little village by the sea in what's now Benin, there was a girl named Afi. The village sat in the kingdom of Dahomey, busy place with sandy paths, mud houses, and fishermen hauling nets from the waves. Afi lived with her mama, Mawa, her papa, Tano, and her little brother Kweku in a house with a thatched roof and a big, twisty tree out front. Chickens pecked around the yard, and the air smelled like salt and smoke from cooking fires. Afi's family wasn't like the others. They were keepers of Voodoo, the old way of talking to spirits. Voodoo was everywhere in the village. It wasn't spooky or strange, it was just life. The spirits lived in the wind, the water, and the big rocks by the river. Afi's mama, Mawa, was the priestess. She wore a white cloth tied over one shoulder and a necklace of shells that clinked when she moved. Every evening, she'd sit by a fire outside, her voice soft as she sang to the spirits. Afi would sit cross-legged on the ground, watching the shadows flicker, while Kweku played with a stick, drawing lines in the dirt. Mawa told them the spirits were friends Legba, who opened doors, Den, the snake who guarded, Mawu, who made everything. Afi loved it. She'd hum along, feeling like the spirits were listening. One morning when Afi was 9, the village woke up to trouble. The sky had been clear for weeks, no rain. The yam plants were turning brown, and the fishermen's nets came up empty. People whispered by the well, worried about food. Afi's papa Tano came home from the fields, his hands dusty, saying, "We need help." Mawa nodded and said, "Spirits will show us." She called Afi and Kweku to get ready. They walked through the village, past kids chasing goats and women pounding millet, to a quiet grove. It was a shady spot with tall trees, trickling stream, and mossy stones. Mawa set down a bowl of water, a handful of cola, nuts, and a feather from a guinea fowl. She started singing, her voice low and smooth, asking Legba to hear them. Afi clapped her hands, copying Mawa's rhythm. Kweku tapped a little drum, their papa made from goat skin. The air got still, like the world was holding its breath. That night, Afi dreamed of a man with a straw hat and a big grin. He leaned on a stick and sighed, "Tell Mawa to dance by the sea tomorrow." Afi woke up with the sun, her heart thumping, and ran to Mawa, who was stirring a pot of yam stew. "Mama, Ledbo came to me. He said dance by the sea." Mawa's eyes got wide, and then she laughed. "You're hearing it already, little one." So Mawa told the village. Everyone grabbed drums, rattles, and clothes to wave. They marched to the beach, sand sticking to their feet. Mawa danced first, spinning slowly, her white cloth flapping like a bird's wings. Afi and Kweku joined in, picking up sand, giggling as the waves splashed their legs. The fishermen banged sticks together, and the women sang loud, their voices mixing with the sea's roar. Afi twirled until she was dizzy, watching Mawa's feet move like they were talking to the ground. By night, clouds crept in, thick and gray. Rain fell soft at first, then hard, soaking the sand. The village shouted and hugged, water dripping down their faces. Mawa said, "Legba opened the door for Mawu's rain." But not everyone liked it. Across the river, another village had men who didn't trust Mawa. They were led by a grumpy guy named Bako, who wore a red cap and carried a big stick. Bako's village didn't use Voodoo much. They prayed to different spirits and thought Mawa was showing off. One day Bako and his friends crossed the river in a canoe, their paddles splashing loudly. They stomped into Afi's village, pointing at Mawa. "You're calling rain? That's witchwork," Bako yelled. Afi hid behind Tano, scared. Mawa stood calm, holding her shell necklace. "It's not witchwork. It's Voodoo. The spirits help us." Bako didn't listen. That night, he came back with more men sneaking through the dark. Afi woke up to shouting. She peeked out and saw them trying to grab Mawa. Tano ran out with a hoe, yelling, "Leave her!" Kwaku cried, clinging to Afi under a mat. Mawa didn't fight. She raised her stick and sang her voice, cutting through the noise. Then something wild happened. A snake, long green, with shiny scales, slithered out from the bushes by the house. It moved fast, curling around Mawa's legs. Bako's men dropped their sticks and ran, tripping over each other. The snake stayed, its tongue flicking until they were gone. Mawa patted its head and said, "Thank you, Dan." Afi whispered, "Mama, that was amazing." Life went on. Afi turned 12, then 15. She got taller, her braids longer, and she started helping Mawa with boat and stuff. She learned to mix leaves for sick people, mint for fevers, bark for cuts. Kwaku, now 10, loved the Fa as a way to talk to spirits. By tossing shells on the ground, he'd sit for hours, squinting at the patterns, saying, "This means good fishing tomorrow." Tano laughing, ruffled his hair, but then strangers showed up, men with pale skin, funny hats, and boats bigger than houses. They came from Portugal, far across the sea, and brought beads, cloth, and metal tools. They traded with Dalmes king, but they also wanted people to take away. One afternoon, Afi was at the market with Mawa, selling pots. The air smelled like fish and roasted corn. A Portuguese man with a scruffy beard walked by, staring at Mawa's necklace. He asked through a trader, "What's that for?" Mawa said, "Spirits." The man laughed, but his eyes were cold. Later, Bako's men came back, this time with the strangers. They grabbed Mawa, saying, "She's trouble." Afi screamed, "No." Tano fought, but they hit him with a stick. Kwaku threw rocks, but the men dragged Mawa to a boat. Afi ran after them, sand flying, but the boat pulled away, disappearing into the waves. She fell on the beach, crying, "Mama." Tano held her and Kwaku, saying, "We'll keep going for her." Afi was 16 now, and she took Mawa's place. She wore the white cloth, sang the songs, and danced by the fire. The village helped all. Mama Sisi brought yams for offerings, and fisherman Kofi gave fish for the spirits. Afi taught Kwaku more, and he got good at Fa, telling people when to plant or fish. But the strangers kept coming, taking more folks. Afi heard stories, people locked in boats, sent to faraway lands. She sat by the grove every night, singing to Ledba, "Please bring Mama back." No answer came. Years rolled by. Afi married a quiet boy named Dovi, who made nets for the fishermen. They had a daughter, Efua, with big eyes and a loud laugh. Afi taught Efua everything: how to clap for Ledba, how to draw Don's shape in the sand. Kwaku grew up too tall and skinny, always carrying his shells. But Dahomey was changing. The king built an army, and soldiers came to the village saying, "We need strong ones." They took Kwaku, Efua, now 18, to work. Kwaku to carry supplies, Efua to cook for warriors. Afi begged, "They're my family." The soldiers didn't care. Afi was alone now, old and tired, sitting by the grove, singing until her voice got hoarse. Efua and Kwaku ended up far away, across the sea, in St. Domingue. They got split up. Kwaku went to a plantation, cutting trees, Efua too, one growing sugar. Life was rough. The sun burned, the work never stopped, and the people who owned them were mean. Efua slept in a shack with 10 others, dirt floors and no windows. She missed Afi, the grove, the sea. At night, she'd hum Mawa's songs, quiet so the overseers didn't hear. One girl, Naya, whispered, "What's that?" Efua said, "Voodoo. It's from home." Naya smiled, "Teach me." Efua started small. She found a stick and drew a circle in the dirt. A spirit sign. She told Naya about Ogun, the fighter spirit. More people listened. Old man Jomo, who Kafta, Lot, young Tusing, who hated the overseers. They met in the woods at night, hiding from the moon. If you brought a pebble and a leaf, singing softly, Ogun, give us strength. One night, an overseer caught them. He smashed the altar, yelling, no devil stuff. If you stood up, it's not devils, it's us. He whipped her, but she didn't cry. Word spread. More workers joined, 20, then 50. They sang in the fields, pretending it was just noise. If you drew Vegas under bushes, whispering to Ogun. Tusing said, we can fight with this. They planned a big night, drums from stolen wood, a fire in the woods. If you danced, calling, Ogun loud her voice, shaking the trees. They grabbed tools, hoes, sticks and ran at the overseers. Shots filled the air, and Mevel climbed. If you got hit, blood on her arm, but she kept going. The fight lost soldiers came, locking them up. If you had died in a dark room, smiling, the spirits saw us. Years later, Tusing and others used Voodoo to win. Freedom. Haiti was born. Back in Benin, Offie was gone, buried by the grove. Kweku never came back, lost somewhere across the sea. But if you had a son, Lamine, born before she left, he stayed with Offie's cousins. Growing up in the village, Lamine was a skinny kid, always asking about Offie. His aunt told him she danced with spirits. Lamine wanted that too. He learned it from an old man, Papa Zosu, who mixed plant sallow for burns, ginger for colds. Lamine loved it, carrying a sack of leaves everywhere. He'd sit by the grove, singing Offie's songs, feeling her close. Then the French came. They took the homie, built rows, and said, no more voting. They put up a church with a cross, telling folks to pray there instead. Lamine, now grown, didn't listen. He'd sneak out at dawn, mixing herbs for sick kids, singing to Dan. Under his breath, he married a girl, Adjo, who loved his quiet ways. They had twins, Yawa and Koju, little bundles with big smiles. Lamine taught them everything: how to spot good plants, how to clap for legba. One day, a French soldier saw Lamine doing a ceremony by the grove. He shouted, stop that, and locked Lamine in a shed by the river. Yawa was 8, Kojo 2. They cried for Lamine, but Adjo sighed, he's strong. Yawa remembered Offie's snake story. She snuck to the grove with Kojo, carrying a yam and a feather. They sang to Dan, help Papa. The next day, a storm. He trained so hard the river swelled, flooding the soldier camp. Lamine's shed broke open, and he swam home, laughing. Dan sent the water. Yawa and Kojo hugged him, wet and happy. Lamine kept going, healing in secret, teaching the twins. Under the twisty tree, time flew. Yawa grew up, quiet but clever. She married a fisherman, Kofi, and had 3 kids, Essie, Sena, and little Tano, named for Offie's papa. Yawa taught them voting, even as the French pushed harder. One night, soldiers burned the groves, edge saying, no more. Yawa saved a snake, carving from the ashes, hiding it in her house. Kojo moved to Ouida, working as a trader, but he'd visit bringing fish and stories. The twins kept voting alive, whispering songs to their kids. Years later, the French left. Benin was free and Voden came back slow. Sena, Yawa's middle kid, was a teenager in Porto Novo, noisy city with bikes and markets. She liked loud music and shiny shoes, not old tales. But one day, cleaning Yawa's house, Sena found a box beads feather, that snake carving. Yawa, old now, said, that's Offie's. We're Voden people. Sena shrugged, what's that? Yawa told her, in dances, snake friends, fights across the sea. Sena got curious. She took a bus to Ouida, a town full of color. She saw the Voden festival, people in white, drums thumping, kids running with flowers. An old priest showed her the temple of python snakes coiled on the floor, calm as cats. He said, Don's family. Sena felt a shiver, like Offie was there. She started singing one of Yawa's songs, clapping slowly. Back home, friends teased her, Voden's creepy. Sena frowned. No, it's us. She went to the grove rebuilt now green, and alive and danced, feeling every ancestor. Then Sena saw lies. Online people saying Voden was curses, blood, dark stuff. She got mad. She grabbed a camera and filmed the festival, the snakes, the grove. She talked about Afi, Efua, and Laminha. Voden helped them live. She posted it saying, "This isn't forbiddance. It's home." People watched hundreds, then thousands. Sena sat by the twisty tree, now huge and old, and said, "No more secrets, just truth." And that's the story, from Afi's little house to Sena's big voice. One family keeping Voden going forever. Click to share, subscribe, like, and comment.